want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show here on Monster Radio AM 1150 and 98.5 FM WGGH. I am your host, Rob Fairless, and on the phone with me today is Dennis Jenkerson. Now, Dennis just so happens to be the chief of the St. Louis Fire Department and has been for quite some time now. Chief Jenkerson, thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day to join me on the show.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and thank you. So, Chief Jenkerson, let's step back in time a little bit and discuss just for a second what made you choose the firefighter career. Did you already have it in your mind that you wanted to become a firefighter before you graduated college, or did that come later on down the road?
Oh, that's a mixed question. I could say that initially, due to my background, which I'll get into in a little bit, I did not want to become a firefighter. It was probably the furthest thing from my mind. I come from a family of firefighters. Both my father and my grandfather were firefighters. My dad retired as a deputy chief with the city of St. Louis Fire Department after a 30-year career. And, I watched him as I was growing up come home, stinky, dirty, smelly, tired, missing holidays, birthdays, Saturdays, Sundays, soccer, baseball, hockey games, things like that, with the way his crazy work schedule was. And also my hero, if you will, my grandfather, who was a battalion chief for the city of St. Louis Fire Department, lost his life in a fire in 1964. And I watched him die at my grandma and grandpa's house on the living room rug as, his lungs kind of filled up with liquid, if you will, from burning his lungs so bad about a week and a half, 2 weeks after the fire. So no, I could say, no, I did not want to be a firefighter. So that it was the furthest thing from my mind. Like I said, I went away to school, kicked the soccer ball, pursued a biology and chemistry degree, and that was probably not in the forefront of my mind. My concentration was on kicking that soccer ball and maybe trying to go pro, which didn't happen. So I stuck with my education, got out, and was basically told by my dad, hey, you need to take this test. Just give it a shot, which I did. And something, for whatever reason, I said, oh, let me try it. That was in 1979. And, it's for reasons I don't understand. It's something that stuck with me. I could say I fell in love with. Tried to show my father, my mom, if you will, this is what I can do. And I had to live up to what I thought my father and my grandfather were. So I'm still here. It's been a good career. Loved every minute of it. I still have fun. It's exciting. It's just breaks your heart sometimes, but it's a career. That's and it's a good career.
Speaking of the danger, and you just mentioned that how dangerous this profession can be. How did the people who were closest to you during that time period when you decided? I know you spoke about your father and stuff, but how did other people react to your decision to become a fireman? Was there ever any worries because of the everyday danger you would be facing?
Like I said, as I was growing up, I was always around, friends of my dad, friends of my grandfathers, all firefighters, and I guess as you have children, which I've learned, you always want your children to excel, to do good things, to do better than you did. And I guess when I made the move to become a firefighter, it was, I guess from the people I knew, the senior firefighters, the people who I called by Mr. So-and-so and Mr. So-and, as I grew up, it was like, they would look at me and it was like, what the heck are you doing here? Your dad worked his rear end off to put you through college and you did that, why are you here? And I didn't have an answer for him. It was just something that I guess I had to try. It's just, you're given the opportunity to take a shot at something. And, for whatever reason, there's something in your mind that you have to, I guess, prove that you have the ability to yourself to be as good as your heroes were.
So, how did your career progress as a firefighter? Did you start off fighting fires just like everyone else?
Oh yeah, I started off, you know, not being cut a whole lot of slack. It was, my first day in the academy. It was like, where is Jenkerson at? And I thought, oh, here we go. So I had to take a little bit of abuse, and which is fine, which is all part of it. A little bit of hazing because, as everybody knows, the fire department is a big brotherhood. It's a big team, and there's some bonds that are always developed over time, and you have to have those to work that way. But uh, it, I'm not going to say it was difficult, but I received a little special attention on certain occasions. That's and I knew it was coming, and I just kept my mouth shut and did my job.
Now, I don't know if this will be an easy question for you to answer or a more difficult question, but how has the initial training to become a firefighter changed since back when you first signed up for the job?
Oh, that tremendously. Just and that's the easiest answer I can give you. I think when I started, I went through about a 10-week program. Basically trying to prepare yourself so you didn't hurt yourself when you got onto the fire ground. There really was no what I call certification back then for fire departments. You just went through the academy that your department had, and they kicked you out on the streets, and you hope that the senior guys in the house and the captains would assist you with the rest. In today's fire department, there's 18 weeks of training. You have to have a firefighter 1 and 2 certification through the state that you're in, and you go through practical testing, you go through uh, computerized testing. You have to be certified in hazardous materials. You have to be certified in collapse rescue and emergency medical technician. So the training has just tenfolded, if you will, and has gotten a whole lot more technical because all of your fireground operations are tracked now. The computers are involved in everything. The fire department trucks and pumpers are all computerized. The response capabilities, and there's computers on every truck. The plans of the buildings are there. So the amount that you have to learn before you even get to ride on a fire truck is probably increased like 4 or 5 times minimum.
Surely everyone who begins their career with any company wants to eventually progress in their role with that company. And I'm sure that's the same with you since you're the chief now. If someone would have told you when you first started your career, as a firefighter, that one day you would be the chief, do you think your younger self would have believed that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially, when you come out of the academy and, you've gone through your training, and the first time you actually go to a real fire and not a training fire, the amount of action, the amount of movement, the amount of work that takes place in a 10-minute time frame is just overwhelming in a large city to fire department. When you put 8 different pieces of fire equipment and 30 firefighters on the scene with 2 battalion chiefs and the ambulances, the amount of operating guidelines that take place automatically is just mind-boggling. To the average citizen, yes, it just looks like chaos. People coming off these trucks, moving here, moving there. But everybody on a fire truck, if we ride 4 firefighters on a truck, each member of that truck has a very specific job to do at a fire. And each truck that comes into a fire, based on the order that they arrive, have a very specific job to do. And all of that is choreographed together to hopefully prevent the loss of life, property. It's just but to the average person, it's just like, it's hard to conceive exactly what's going on, but it is a very well choreographed, uh, just total mass chaos, but it's constructed chaos. It takes a lot to get used to, and your first year, 2 years on the job, you still haven't got it. It's still mind-boggling to see how much work goes on at a fire, at
I,
the average fire. in a big city fire department.
I bet. I bet. Now, to go back to the to the firefighter part of the fire department, how would you describe maybe just a typical day for a St. Louis firefighter? Is if there is such a thing as a typical day?
Well, there each day of the week there's a different job that has to be done when they first come in. It's whether it's cleaning and inspecting the apparatus, taking all the tools out of the compartments and redoing, and cleaning all the compartments, uh, washing the windows and the walls in all the firehouses, uh, cleaning the kitchen, because even though it's a firehouse, it's the firefighters' homes. And when you put, 8, 9, 10 guys in a firehouse, there's a lot to be cleaned. So they come in, they have general house duties, which involves cleaning the entire house. No, we don't have any type of janitorial staff. The firemen do it themselves, and it's kind of like a pun, if you will, that goes around when the new guys come on. The only tool they're going to touch for a year is probably going to be a toilet brush, So, but every morning that house is cleaned top to bottom. Uh, Before they even get to the housework, when they come in and they make relief, we work a 24-hour shift. Uh, your your air pack, your tools, the truck, everything has to be inspected and ready to go at any time. So you have to be ready to respond. And that's from something as simple, your gloves, your helmet, your flashlight, your tools that you carry, your boots, everything has to be immediately ready to go once you make that relief. So there's, it seems like they walk in, they, see you later, Bill. I'm taking over. But there's also an exchange of information on what happened the day before. Did they have any special calls? Was there any issues with the fire trucks? Are there any new special orders out that need to be exchanged? So that kind of starts the day, and that normally goes up to about 10:30. Relief is made at 8. Most guys get there right around 7 o'clock to start their day. You know, Captain holds a roll call at 8 o'clock, goes through, like I said, the special orders, anything that happened the day before, any equipment that's been broken or needs to be replaced or updated. And there's what we call like I said, the roll call. They go through all the operations of the day before and anything that's going to happen that day. They might have inspections to do that day, school talks, smoke alarm or carbon monoxide detector installs. They might have an out of service training detail. They might need to go to a familiarization tour that the fire marshal's office is put on. And that normally takes you up to about noon. Noon, there's a lunch break, but they have to buy food too, because most in the city of St. Louis, the firemen pay for their own food. There's actually a house dues, if you will. They pay, say $20 a month, and it provides for all the staples in the house, be it, milk, Kool-Aid, salt, sugar, pepper, all the staples, butter, flour, anything they need to run a home, a firehouse, is paid for by the members of that house. So that all has to be done. There's also training that's required every day, whether it's computerized training or practical training. So even though you're working a 24-hour period, there's a whole lot that has to be done in between going on medical calls and fire calls. So your average 8-hour workday on the fire department is probably about 10 to 12 hours long minimum.
So, I'm from a rural area. We have a rural volunteer fire
Mm-hmm.
department. So,
Mm-hmm.
for a city like St. Louis, a large city, because I have no idea, how often does the fire department have to respond to a fire on average?
On the average in the city of St. Louis, like I said, we handle all the fire calls and we also handle all the emergency ambulance. I run 36 pieces of fire equipment a day, which is either we run trucks, pumpers, and hook and ladders. A truck is a 75-foot ladder, pumper is a standard fire department pumper, and the hook and ladder is a 125-foot ladder above. We also have 2 heavy-duty rescue squads, which carry 6 members. They work a 24-hour shift. I also run 12 ambulances a day that work 12-hour shifts. So that all, on the average, on a daily call basis, the fire department runs right around about 200 calls a day. EMS service is averaging about 220 to 230 calls a day. So we're a very, very busy department. Fires per day, we're averaging about 15 house fires a day.
Wow.
As we get into the winter season, that will go up because we have vacant properties in the city of St. Louis, and as the homeless look for places to stay warm and and cook, they do build fires in these places, and our fire calls go up with heating, and the holidays fires go up with cooking accidents. It's a very busy place. I'll leave with an average of 500 calls a day between EMS and fire. It's you're tired when you go home after a 24-hour period.
Wow. Real quick before we start to wrap things up here, you mentioned winter. It's going to be here before we know it. Any words of wisdom for our listeners as far as fire safety for the home in the winter?
Absolutely. The St. Louis Fire Department, we have a smoke detector program, and we actually come out and put smoke detectors in your homes for free. I can say, please have a smoke detector in your house, hopefully one on every floor, and check those smoke detectors at least once a month. They 3 out of 5 fire deaths, no working smoke detectors. Smoke detector increases your survivability rate by 50%. Another scary statistic is on the average, we lose about 400 children a year to fires. And of those children who have died, 80% of those homes did not have a working smoke detector. So that's the biggest thing. It's going to give you an early warning for any type of smoke or fire in your house and gives you the ability to get out. When I started back in the 70s, there was no such thing as a smoke detector. We would show up and people would be hanging out the windows and screaming and yelling for our help. Today, when we show up, most of the time, the people are already outside because the smoke detector gave them an early warning. So the biggest and most important thing you can do to protect your family and protect your house is put smoke detectors in on every level of your house. They are true lifesavers.
Well, thanks for that tip. Now, does the St. Louis Fire Department have their own social media pages and website?
We do. We have our own social media site. We also have our own. We have a captain by the name of Captain Garen Mosby that runs all those sites. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, and we're also what else? On Instagram as well. And all you have to do is plug in St. Louis Fire Department, and it will come up.
Awesome. Well, Chief Jenkerson, is there anything you'd like to mention to the listening audience before we bring today's show to a close?
Like I said, as we go into the heating season and more importantly, the holiday season, everybody gets busy. Pay attention to what you're doing in the kitchen. If you're in the kitchen cooking, stay in the kitchen. The kids get excited. They're running around. Be more than careful with any type of secondary heating source like a space heater. Those always causes big issues during the winter. It's just, it's a busy time of season. It's a fun time of season. Just everybody slow down and pay attention to your fire safety and, the cooking, the heating, and make sure you have smoke detectors in. That's number one. They do save lives.
Well, Chief Jenkerson, Dennis, you and the St. Louis Fire Department team are heroes. And I want to say to everyone out there who is a part of it, thank you for what you do. And thanks again for joining me on the show today, sir.
Perfect. I enjoyed it tremendously. You have a great night.